All right, so can you play Endless Dungeon on the Steam Deck? I can save you the whole video. Yeah, you 100% can. As you can tell, I've logged over 30 hours, and that's entirely on the Steam Deck. But I'll just show you some gameplay to see how it runs, because there are kind of some weird quirks that go along with running it. The first question for me for a game like this is a twin stick shooter. It's a roguelite, and it actually works really well on the Steam Deck. That being said, there are a few things that having a smaller screen make it a little bit more difficult than if you had a bigger screen. But we'll go over those in a second. All right, so here we are now in the game. As you can see, we are running at a pretty stable 60 FPS, although we don't really have anything going on, so I'll show you guys a battle in a second. There is a weird visual artifact with this character. It looks like at least in dark rooms, he's kind of glowing, which he shouldn't be. That's just some weird visual artifact. I'm not sure what's causing that. But it looks good. Now, let me show you one of the problems that I'm having with playing on a smaller screen is that, as you can see, the text is pretty small, but that's fine. But then try and read something like this. For me, for my eyes, that's hard to read. But then if you pull up something like this, it gets incredibly hard to read something like that. I can do it, but I have to put my face right up on the screen. So I would say it's totally playable, and in regular gameplay, you don't really notice things being too small. The enemies are still observable, everything is still noticeable, but text can be pretty hard to read. And most specifically, you'll see if we go in, if you try and read this text, I can read it, but only barely. And I bet if you're a little bit older or your eyes can't focus very well on small and close things, then you're gonna have a hard time reading that text. Is it a deal breaker? Nope, it's not. But I just wanted to let you guys know that sometimes the text elements are pretty small in this game to be reading. Now, that being said, I still think this is a fantastic game on the Steam Deck because it's a twin stick shooter, which is just good for the controls of the Steam Deck. And the way it's animated and the way it looks, it just seems like it was made for the Steam Deck. It's a beautiful art style, in my opinion, but it's also an art style that's not too graphically demanding, so you generally get pretty close to 60 FPS, although you can't maintain 60 FPS all the time. And I'll show you guys a wave, and then you'll see it dip down here in a second. This game runs fantastic on the Steam Deck. I've been super impressed with it. And let's just go over what the settings we're running are. I haven't messed with the settings at all. This is their default out-of-the-box settings. And as you can tell, we're getting a resolution of 1280 by 800. That's the default resolution for the Steam Deck. And we're at a quality level of medium. And I think medium is a good spot for the Steam Deck if you wanted to run at 60 FPS. If you said you were going to be happy with 40 FPS per se, well, you could probably run it at high. Let's go to high. And there you can see, okay, now we're getting in the mid 50s. But again, this is without any action going on. So I'm just gonna start a wave to show you guys the action. Again, this is on high at the native resolution. So let's open a door and see what's gonna happen. In this game, if you aren't familiar, the way things progress is by opening doors. That's kind of like, it's turn-based in that opening a door starts the next turn, but then it's also real time in the action. So we're gonna move the crystal. Now we're gonna get a wave. And again, this is on high. This is on high at the native resolution. So if it can hold above 40 in these battles, see there you see it dip down to the mid 40s, and this isn't even particularly intense right now. But if you were to lock the frame rate at 40 on high, I think it could manage. It wouldn't be a locked 40, but it would be pretty close. So I think you'd be totally happy with it, or at least I would be. But yeah, there you saw it dip into the high 30s. So as things get there, now we're going into the low 30s, and that's why I ended up running this game at medium settings, is because while you can run it at high, you do experience more frame rate dipping. And like for me, the difference between 30 FPS and 60 FPS is pretty noticeable even in a game like this. So I'd just rather have the settings a little bit lower, have a much more stable 60 FPS, even though it's not locked, and then we can go from there. So here, let's do this. So yeah, as you can tell, we're getting 40, but now let's switch it back to medium. Medium, there we go. And now Now we're getting closer to 50. So that's a trade-off that you can decide what you prefer. If you prefer, higher frame rate or higher visual fidelity, totally up to you. No wrong answer there. But yeah, this is a game that I think as soon as I started playing it, I played the original one quite a bit and I really, really liked it. And the original one is from like 2014. But this is a game that seems tailor-made for the Steam Deck. The screen size, it works perfectly. It being a twin stick shooter, the controls are awesome on the Steam Deck. And then the amount of horsepower that you need, the Steam Deck has just enough to run it pretty comfortably you could run it at 60-ish on medium settings, or you could run it at high and run it maybe at a 40-ish FPS. And it's just perfect. It feels like a fantastic game for the Steam Deck. It's actually been my most played game recently, as you can tell. I mean, I put 30 hours in and this came out maybe like 2 weeks ago. So that's a lot of time for me for gaming. So anyway, all this to say, this is a fantastic game. If you're looking for a good game for your Steam Deck and that you can play on the Steam Deck screen, I highly recommend Endless Dungeon. You're going to have a good time with it. It is a really fun game. All right, that's going to do it for this. If you have any specific questions about the Steam Deck or about Endless Dungeon, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll try to get to everybody. I usually am pretty good at getting to all the comments because I just don't get that many. So, all right, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.